Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Season 1, Episode 10? Is it really 10 episodes already? The season's come to a close. Good Lord. What a run so far. Today, we have fellow Marbles streamer, fellow Marbles YouTube content creator. I know, it's a first. What? There's more than one? Yes, there is. And his name is GJC.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome to the show, GJC. Glad to have you here. Dressed up for the occasion.
I couldn't let Yusuf show me off.
Yusuf's starting a trend. I love it. I absolutely love it. So welcome, GJC. How's things? How are you? How's life?
Good. It's been an exciting week for me, yeah. Just in general, a little exciting couple of weeks.
Nice. I'm going to jump right in because I got a question. How goes the tilting?
How goes the tilting? I hit my personal best last night.
What?
I got to the blues, and then I got messed up a little bit around, I think it might have been like a bridge situation where like it was on a hill or something like that, and I just, the spreading got all over. I didn't have that many marbles too. I think I had maybe less than 12 marbles, so I think I might have needed a little bit more, you know.
Hey, Baby Blues is where real tilters are born, so you know.
I've never been there, and it was the first time I ever saw a hammer. I didn't get hit by the hammer, which was, I was happy about that. But after that, I was like, I think I was a little overwhelmed because I started seeing obstacles and combos I've never seen before.
Yeah,
like it's a big curve suddenly to like a drop off kind of.
Oh yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah, I didn't expect it, but I'm you know, that doesn't mean I'm gonna give up.
So on the topic, for those of you who don't know, GJC also helps me do tilted tournaments. We did 2 this season. Won't be able to do any more this season, but we will try again next season to get as many in as we can.
Okay.
Just want to make sure we get all the logistics worked out and everything good to go. And also there will be some changes, hopefully, coming soon to Tilted. So we might have to accommodate for those as well. So we will be updating that. On that note, actually, GJC, I was thinking how we could get you more involved in those tournaments, because we do have, like, I'm more the insight guy, you're more the networking guy, right?
Right.
So I definitely want you being like a stronger presence for the interviews, and maybe even just doing those entirely by yourself or something. But I don't know. Is there any thoughts you've had about how you could get?
Well, I've always said this, and I said this to you last time, is that like you and I both come from like a Blizzard background where we've seen these big companies put on esport productions.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, I mean, it's next level. And if we ever want to be there, the team needs to grow. Absolutely. I think that's the big thing. None of those esports casting, it's never just 2 people. It's usually 2, 4. It's teams of 2. What it is there are 2 people on screen talking with each other, but they rotate and it's teams of 2 at a time. You know, one person goes out, another comes in, and then they do that. It's always switched up like that, you know. So I think that would be wonderful. Maybe one main host, you know, like an MC, that happens, and then they rotate kind of like a team. And I think as we get more people involved and more people who are willing to be, you know, on camera and taking kind of a front face, you know, role in this, maybe that's the first step, I think, is expand the team.
For sure. And going into that, I think Pixel has expressed interest in increasing the frequency of tournaments, so it might come to a point where if we're doing it every 2 weeks or every other week, it might actually be required that you and I each like alternate hosting the events, and then we each can bring our own people on board and have people going back and forth and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of room for growth there for sure.
Definitely.
Y'all just have to wait to see what happens, I guess. Yay! I did introduce you as fellow YouTube content creator. And if you have any questions relevant to anything we bring up, feel free to just throw them in and get things going back my way. But I would describe the YouTube Marble world as quite open. I think there's a lot of things people aren't doing, and I would love to do them all, but I am but one man.
I feel that, and thank God you're around to do it. I feel the same. We're in the same boat in that scenario.
So I put up just tilted content because there was no tilted content. So I went full blown in on that. And I tried to do regular racing. That one kind of fell off, but the Thursday Flares kind of picked up where that left off. So I'm happy with how that is. But I think you definitely were right in the right spot at the right time, absolutely, because you realized there was a lot of events going on. There's a lot of things happening in the community, and if there's just some recorded hub of information each week, it would really kind of help solidify things. And you nailed it. I gotta say, you nailed it. Good job, sir. What was it like, kind of developing that? How did you identify the niche, and how did you go about trying to fill it?
Well, I mean, the same thing with you is that when I first looked up marbles, I, like anybody, when I first start learning a video game, and you and I come from the similar background with like Hearthstone and Blizzard games, I look up tutorials. So the first person I hope it's okay to say their name, but the first person when I learned how to play Hearthstone was Trump SC.
Oh yeah.
Who was like, he has a tutorial video on literally how to get started on playing Hearthstone, and it's the go-to video. Even though it's dated as hell, it's still the go-to video that people first start playing Hearthstone. And you go to Reddit, that's the first thing people suggest. Yep. Trump SC, learning Hearthstone.
Yep.
And I was like, type that in, how to play marbles on YouTube.
Nothing.
Crickets. Right? Crickets. So, like, I knew there was a market for it. And I knew I couldn't be the only person searching for it. And then when we moved over to Steam, more people started playing this game.
That was the big move.
That was like, this is the moment to strike. And because I always had this idea of like, I think it's important to put YouTube content on there. You could be streaming 12 hours a day, but on those other 12 hours when you're not on, and somebody goes looking for something marbles related, and they don't find you, that's like one less opportunity.
Yep.
But when you have a YouTube channel, they can always find you. You know, like, it's as simple as that. So I was like, I'm going to set out to be the Trump of marbles. Trump SC, not Trump, Trump SC of marbles. Trump Star. He was a StarCraft player originally, and then he became, he's kind of like you, he became a Hearthstone player too.
Yep.
So he's notorious. And I was like, that is who I want to be. You know? The first person you land on when you go to YouTube and you search how to play marbles.
Well, hey. I mean,
and
I think you're the right man for the job.
Like a step like that. You know, Hearthstone has, and I'm sure StarCraft and all those other big games have weekly podcast shows and weekly content on content. It's not just them showing content, right, of them playing. It's them creating content about the content that they're playing, right? So it's like a secondary layer. Marbles never had that. For like, you were the only one putting out Marbles video. Other people were putting out, other types of Marbles video. But
watching. That Sandman had it a while ago.
Deal.
Or not that Sandman, regular Sandman had it a while ago.
Yeah. But nothing consistent and nothing like a tutorial type of feel to it. And I was like, there's definitely a market for it. So we need I want to do weekly updates and I want to do tutorial videos. And what was that, season 15?
Yeah, season 15.
Season 15 was when I set out, and I was like, this is it. Like, it's now or never. And then, of course, all the game blew up, Twitch blew up through like Corona. And that just changes everything, right?
Yeah.
So you're right. It's all about timing, right?
Yeah. I mean, and not just timing, but recognizing the timing, right?
Right.
And that's the big thing. Like, I honestly think I was a little late to marbles once I got it. Like, for the first 5 months, I was just nose to the grindstone, wasn't really like paying attention to anything. But once I was able to like step back, I made my mark. I kind of made an impact, and I was able to start kind of get back and look at the community, look at the game as a whole. I was like, wow. I missed a lot. Like, I got in right around season 6, season 7, but still, so much had happened before then. I kind of wish I got in closer to season 4, maybe, but you just got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. We always say that, too, is that I got in right around season, like, around, I want to say probably around March of last year, so I'm not quite sure what season that is. Might have been season 6 or 7.
That would have been 7 to 8, yeah.
Yeah, 7 to 8 is when I really started getting into it. And that was, of course, at the time when there really wasn't like an energy system that could prevent you from playing in multiple tabs. So and then Twitch wasn't kind of like cutting your views in half due to multiple streams. So I came in right before things started changing as far as like the game and as far as Twitch views go. So I was incredibly fortunate in the timing of that. I think, in my opinion, there's maybe only 1 or 2 other people I can think of who kind of made that cutoff before things sort of like changed in a
right,
big way.
right.
You know, there's a big difference between those of us who were here before that and those who aren't who
exactly
after.
Yeah.
There's a wonderful difference. Like as far as like the way the stream grows and the way things have like how successful they've become. I hate to say that, but it's it's documented.
Well, I think it's part of the mindset too, right? So those of us that were here before the transition were much more community oriented and much more consistency oriented, which kind of built the foundation that Marbles is sitting on now. Where people who get in after that, they realize the importance of unique viewership. So they're much more built on novelty. They're much more built on catching eyes and getting those extra views. So on Twitch, it looks like they're doing better, but in the community, I don't think they're always doing that well.
That's interesting.
I won't name them, but I could name
a
good top number of streamers that aren't really much well spoken of in the Marbles community, and they just have a lot of viewers, and other than that, they're not really anything to the Marbles community.
And this actually goes to one of my questions actually, and this is perfect, is that like, do you feel like, I think there's different types of, obviously there's different types of Marble streamers, right?
Yep.
But there's like certain categories. There's tilters, there's people who just run regular races, and people who really enjoy community. There's all these different subcategories. But then I think there's a definition floating around outside of what is a Marble streamer?
Right.
I mean, anyone can stream Marbles, right? But we in the community don't consider anyone who jumps on and streams Marbles a Marble streamer. Even if that's the only game you stream, and you stream it like 2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Still not a Marble streamer. Why is that? Is there a criteria for it? Is it because you don't show up to community day? Is it like you're not involved in the community, so we don't consider you a Marble streamer? Like, that's always been a curious point that I want. I've it's hard to put your finger on it.
Yeah,
like,
I think a baseline, it may not be the only criteria, it may not be the governing criteria, but certainly a good baseline is whether or not they're paying attention to the game. That's the biggest thing. And Yusuf I joked about this when he was on the show. Is like there's 2 categories, right? There's just talking and there's just talking with Marbles, right? Like if you're a just talking with Marbles category streamer, I don't think anyone would qualify you as a Marbles streamer.
Right.
And that's the just talking with Marbles is an isolation from the Marbles category.
Right.
And I honestly, it would be bad obviously for the game because then you're dividing your viewership over 2 different categories. But as far as the community goes, it would be a logical move. I don't think it should be done, but it would make sense as far as the community is structured, like because it already is kind of divided up. Like there's the people who just chat with Marbles, and there's the people who actually stream Marbles. But I do think at least a good baseline as to what that governing factor is whether or not they're actually paying attention to the game.
Yeah, and it's not to say there isn't crossover, because of course there is. There's days where I'm more chatty and I'm not really paying attention to the game, and we're just chatting and hanging out and taking it easy. And there's days where I'm actively engaged in the game and I'm calling out races. And that changes even through a broadcast, right? Through a stream. Like, for some reason, something more exciting is happening on in a race, and I'm more, focused on that. But then I'll get caught up on a tangent of talking, and then I'm chatting, and then we forget about the race. And I think that's what Marbles is amazing is it offers you that ebb and flow opportunity kind of. I used to hate that. I used to hate that.
Yeah.
I used to hate that when I had nothing to talk about and chat with somebody, and I was just focusing on the Marbles. And it wasn't until I started listening to Standard talk about it kind of that I kind of embraced that bit where it's like, okay, so now I can like focus on Marbles, and I'll try to do that, and then it'll come as it goes. Like there's no need to feel like I need to be constantly carrying a conversation because, in the truth be told, I enjoy the game. So what's wrong with just playing the game and calling out the race, right?
And if anyone wants like a masterclass in that kind of thing that GJC's talking about, as far as using chat when it's there and using the game when chat's not there, just watch Baxcast. Watch one stream from start to finish at Baxcast, and like he is a master at keeping chat going, and the moment chat stops, boom, into the race, and then chat pops up and he's like, boom, right back in the chat. I don't know how he does it. He doesn't know how he does it. I asked him. He has no clue.
Yeah. No, but it's experience, right? That comes with experience, and there's a natural talent for it too behind that too.
So if you want to kind of see a perfect example of what we're talking about, definitely check out one of Backscast VODs for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and I think it's like that with any game, right? You're gonna always have games where people are just using the game to get people in, and they end up staying for the streamer and not the game itself, which is, you know, high praise to the streamer, absolutely. But then you have to always, I think streamers always need to keep in mind, you know, what communities they're treading in, right? So
yeah, there are still people who are like here for the game, right?
Right.
And I think, and this is not a clear definition, but obviously when you say are they involved in the game, are they actually playing the game, is that like an awareness of the energy system, an awareness of like competitive marbles, right? I would say like it didn't used to be like this, but now it's easily more than 50% of the people playing the game don't have any clue what that is. Right. And it's because, and this is interesting because that's how the game's developed. It's because part of that is because competitive marble racers aren't able to be in as many tabs, and they have to be way more selective. So it comes down to the point of, do I want to be in this new streamer's chat and have to spend 10 minutes explaining energy to them? 10 minutes is like a small estimate, right? Lower end estimate of explaining what it is energy is. Yep. Or should I just go to my same old 3 people that I've been playing, or 5 people that I play with during the middle of the day, or during whatever time I'm growing, because they already know what's going on. And that's the element I think of marbles that I'm kind of miss, is because back in the day we would, if someone didn't know, we explained it to them, and we could be in a lot of new streamers, and that way the information disseminated in a much more organic and faster way than it is currently right now, because now we're growing in new streamers. Less of us who know what's going on are going into those new streamers.
Right. And it's definitely something that Pixel has been keeping tabs on. He's been showing breakdowns of viewership and whatnot over the years. And to that effect, like the actual core grinders, even though they're like the foundation of marble streaming and the marbles community, you know, effectively only take up about 0.1% of the viewership. Like if you only have 1,000 people grinding and you have 1 million viewers, like
it's not even
as important as they are, they're not represented in the data. And
well, that's interesting. How do you feel like because you come from, like, again, StarCraft, and you've played Hearthstone, you've seen that, how do you feel like competitive people in those games drive the game and the meta of the game, and as well as the community of the game? Meaning more people will see someone who plays StarCraft really well or Hearthstone really well, and then like try to emulate that and try to, you know what I'm saying? Like stars make you want to like copy them and follow them, and therefore your game grows. So how important is that competitive star power, do you feel, in marbles right now? Like, does it affect the rest of the community? Like, is it cool we see number 1 dropping all hot and it's like, oh my god, this guy's so famous? Like, is there that, there used to be that field, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about.
Grinders have definitely suffered in their image,
right? Is there that feel anymore, you know? And how much does that star power drive the rest of the community to want to compete and play?
It used to be like, you know, number 1 in the stream, or number 1 in the leaderboard drops in your stream, was like, oh snap, here he is, Exodus number 1 coming in hot.
So hot,
right?
Yeah.
But I think, as you just said, so many new streamers and viewers of those streams don't understand that system of the game. They're just like, oh, is this some bot? What is this? Like, right? Like, it's like an entirely different percentage there.
Why did it explode my board? Like,
I am hot, just to compliment on that. I know Pixel actually had a stream where he put the data up on stream. So if those are the numbers from that image that he posted, definitely worth breaking down. But I wouldn't say they're just there for giveaways. You know, you have to keep in mind, with a growing game like this is, every new view is important. You know, even if go ahead.
Was made for giveaways originally, so I mean, in a way, that's the most original way to play the game, right? Like if you have to think about it that way, that's what it was made for originally.
Right. And if those million people are only here for the giveaways, what do we do to instill continued viewership for them, right? If only 1 million people are playing and they never come back, that's our failing. We fucked up. That's not their fault. So I would, if anyone has a link to the image Pixel posted, that would be good to put in chat. And even if that was the case, that's still a failing on our part as a community, in my opinion. So yeah, it's weird having all these new people who don't understand the history, don't understand the core components, that are just using the game. And Pixel often focuses on that rightly, in saying, you know, the grinders are the very smallest percentage of Marvel players, but I don't think it should be undervalued, right? They may be the smallest number, but they're also the most involved number. They're also the most public.
They're the most active.
Right, most active.
Yeah, that's the star power we're talking about, right? Is that like, I've always said that, and this is kind of different because it's not a racer leaderboard, but it's the streamer leaderboard. Is that like that emote when you get it, which is something that I've had the honor of getting. I've never felt like it was the emote that made the streamer. I always thought it was the streamer that made the emote. Like because if you're, and I say this all the time, if you're nothing without the emote, then you don't deserve to have it. It's like Spider-Man. It's like, you know, like if you're nothing without the suit, then you don't deserve to have it. Like, and that's really what it is. Is if that emote is just your foot into the door, kind of to open that conversation. But if you are somebody who has the emote in the game and you haven't ever capitalized on it, I think it's essentially just it becomes kind of pointless. I hate to say it, and this is not to like go after anyone specific or something like that, but I always felt like people who are champions in this community have a voice. We're quote unquote, and not to use a Hunger Games, you know, a Hunger Games analogy, but we're past victors, you know?
Yeah.
Like the name carries weight in the community when you're somebody who's had an emote or who's a champion or who's a top leaderboard finisher. You know, and this is not to put extra burden or responsibility on anyone, but like in a way, you're like part of the front face of the company.
Yeah.
And of the game, you represent the game. So the things you say carry weight, and that's always been something that I think I've been very mindful of. You know, and I think because your word carries weight in the community, it's a double-edged sword. You know, you have to be very careful of what you say, but you also have to speak up when it's right.
Yep.
And not just anything in general, right? But especially more so if you're somebody who's a leader in the community.
Yeah, and I think the emotes especially are just kind of an indicator, actually. You know, everyone has access to the pixel and the spoo and the standard damage emotes, but when I'm tilting, it's almost always head snap emotes. It's head snap, head snap, head snap, and that's a credit to head snap. In a world where people could use pixel, spoo, standard damage, LT Digilusion, Niffer for the win, right? Yeah, they're using head snap. And I think that's attributive to how successful head snap is. Personally, I'm not a fan of that stream style, but that's because that's just not my style, you know? I think he's got a great thing going. He's hype as fuck. And he knows how to rock a show. So, and the people definitely respond to that. So,
I was talking to, because Pachinko's been back, and I was talking to Pixel about getting data on the most commonly used emotes, not just for Pachinko, because you can only use emotes in Pachinko, but for all of Twitch. Which one? Like, they must have that data somewhere, right? Like, I'm assuming that it's just they need to, somebody, Kextan or someone needs to program in to get the server to spit it back out. But that emote data is in there, and I was like, I want to know, like, whose emote is used the most.
Right.
You know, it'd be interesting to see. And it's not like a competition thing, but I think from a as someone who analyzes stream and analyzes impact and data,
right?
Like just to know
as business research.
Yeah, it's very powerful. Yeah, and obviously, if they don't want to share that publicly, that's fine.
But they should know.
They want to share that just with the people that have the emote. I would be okay. But I think as a streamer who was in that situation, I would have loved to seen it because I feel like, I mean, maybe just personally, I was relatively on even footing with the other people who had an emote in the game during that time.
Yeah.
And I missed out on like a whole season of streaming right after I won the emote. I went away. I took time off. I went because the grind killed me.
Yeah.
I went to TwitchCon.
That's the roughest part. Is like you kill yourself to do it, and then you need a break, and it's like, oh, I can't take a break because now I have an emote in the game.
I fell off really, honestly. Like, and then this is interesting. As we talk about capitalizing on the thing, had I not taken a season off, I think I would have done better the following season when I try to grind again. Because I took a season off and I was out of the view. I think that I missed the opportunity to really capitalize it, and I that's one of the missteps in my marbles and streaming career that to this day I still kind of regret. There's a lot of things I've done, most of which I won't take back as far as streaming and mistakes I made because they all taught me a lesson. But I wish if I could change one of the things in my short career, is that I didn't need to grind for the leaderboard, but I needed to stay streaming consistently. Relatively consistently after I had won that championship.
Yep.
Because it looked like I was just like,
yep, got it. Peace, boys.
Look, it's really pixel and Ender. It's like recognizer. It's like it looked like I just threw it behind and then left everyone at home. I looking at that back at that, I was like, oh, what a stupid mistake. Because then the next season when I tried to get back on, it felt like I was starting all over again. Starting to build a new community all over again, starting to build that viewership for grind. And it was like a real struggle. Because that season, the competition stepped up. I think it was season 14.
Yep.
Yeah, that competition changed dramatically. All these new people came back into it. People who we hadn't seen stream marbles for a while suddenly were pushing for the top 10, and you're like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And then I missed out on the top 10, and it was because I could still, looking back, I could say it's because I didn't stream right after I won that championship. I never really admitted that on stream before, so this is an exclusive, or I've never said that out loud to anybody really. But that's an exclusive, and that just goes to show is the being able to capitalize on the timing of things is so incredibly important in this business, right?
Absolutely. Very insightful stuff. I'm glad we got to go.
This is one of my questions actually. Is will you ever compete in the leaderboard other than Tilted?
I've been playing with the idea. I've had brief moments.
Going to change. We know that.
I've had brief moments this season where I was like, what if next season I just grinded it out? What if I just did 12-hour streams all day every day?
You couldn't run a 12-hour track for 12 hours. Yeah, I mean, a 1 hour track every time. You would never get any points. You'd have to start running shorter versions of it. You just break it up, right? Let's just break it up into smaller 2-minute courses, but it's over an hour long, just shorter races, I wonder.
But yeah, I've had passing thoughts about what if just for one season, I just put everything aside and just fucking went for it, right?
Right.
And then more recently, I even had scenes I kind of do the off stream during the day and then the feature stream during the night. So what if the off stream was always grinding, and still kept the featured stuff at night? So I've been playing with those ideas, but that's mostly that's financially motivated. So we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, the answer is we'll see.
We'll see. So yeah, I got some more questions here.
Okay. Shoot.
I think I want to keep it relevant right now, and then we can start. I got 2 more stream-related questions. So, not to put you on the spot, and no comment is definitely an appropriate. It's always good when you preface a question with, and if you want to say no comment, go right ahead. But I will preface it that way. What is your favorite type of viewer?
What do you mean?
Just like categorically, there are different viewers.
Okay.
So maybe what are some of those categories you would lump people into, and what's your favorite category? And again, no comment, perfectly acceptable. I'm not trying to make enemies here.
What are my favorite
You have the right to plead the fifth.
I think I'd be crazy to say I didn't enjoy like engagement and people who at least actively or try to actively carry a conversation, right? It's nice to have someone to talk to. Like, what's the point of streaming if you're just like not talking to anyone? Like I feel like that's part of it, right? Is that it's nice to have at least somebody to just carry a conversation around with. But I also think that because I know the way Twitch works, that like it's a la carte. I've always said that. I say this all the time on stream, and I say that to new streamers and new people who are watching and viewers, is that you take from it what you want, when you want, how much you want. You put in and you get back exactly how much you put in, right? So sometimes I'm busy, but I just need to leave. I want to, support Shen's, or I want to support one of my friends, and I leave a window open and I'm just listening to him. And that's like totally okay, because I've been in that situation and I'm okay with viewers doing that, and this goes back to the streaming thing is a lot of new people don't understand why there's players who come into your chat and they just type play and they don't say a single thing. You remember back in the day, we used to get banned all the time. Like when big streamers would come on, and then like those of us who were ranked.
Yes, just the moment they saw a number next to your name.
The moment they saw your number, they banned you, right? And it drove us insane.
Yeah.
Because we're just trying to, we couldn't understand this idea of you being upset with somebody who just wanted to interact and play with you. Right? It seemed
that's something I still understand. Is like
everyone's welcome to play, right?
They count as engagement in your channel. Like they're literally giving you better numbers for free. Like why would you be against that?
Right. So that's the same thing. Is I think there's like that connotation of like, this is a terrible term to use, and I've used it before, and I've tried my best not to ever say it again because Pixel called me out on it, rightfully so. And this is on Community Day of all places, so in front of the whole class, he called me out. So, but I referred to grinders and like competitive marble players as play zombies, and he was like, that's kind of a derogatory term. Like, he didn't say derogatory, but he's like, how about you don't call them that in the first place, And I've always been like, I've never felt that was a bad thing to say, because these people who are actively engaging my chat, if you're not okay with them being in your chat, then you're not okay with the idea of someone who's just lurking and watching your stream without talking.
Right.
And there's not a single streamer on Twitch who could be where they are today if it wasn't for someone who just lurks. Right? So I think it's not so much what is my favorite viewer that's important, but what is my favorite balance of viewers.
That's a great answer.
That's the most important thing. Is the balance of viewers you have. And I think I'm one of the few streamers who's managed to do that really well. I've managed to, as far as the marbles community go, I've managed to go the gambit, right? Managed to like capture people who are, and this is not to toot my own horn, but I think I've balanced pretty well. I have people who are competitive marble grinders. I have people who are here just to like friends of mine from other backgrounds and other streams, whether it's Hearthstone or whether it's marbles, who are like actively communicating with me. I have people who are, who've been around, OGs, and then I have people who are just coming in new, who I'm discovering a new, like, less casual, like less competitive marble streams and more casual, just chatting as we're talking about streams. So like, I feel like as far as networking goes, I've tried my best to like branch out and get all those different types, and just at this point, it's like, bring me everybody. Like, you're tired, you're poor, you're hungry. I want marble, right? That's marbles.
Yeah.
Right? And Stu says that too. The idea is to get as many as you can. So I don't care what you are. But in the end, it's for me personally, it's about a balance of all of them.
I'll jokingly refer to some people who are just grinding when I'm doing tilting as robots and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but they know the reason I call them out is to help them. Like, you're missing the join period. Like, you're late or you're early. Like, you're not getting your points. Like, so they know I'm trying to help them out, and we're just having fun with it. But there is always that moment where, like, do they really mind that I'm like calling them out as robots? And like, am I hurting their feelings? But
I think having been in that situation before, right, and like I was a competitive marbles. I mean, I streamed marbles before I became a competitive racer, and it was until I started becoming a competitive racer that my stream grew even more, and I started getting known. So, having been a competitive racer, like, I always felt like I've been in both sides of the table,
right.
so I understand what it is, and
right.
I've fortunately never had a misstep where I've offended competitive marble racers. And
I used to do tournaments.
Or whatever other derogatory term that they might think is a little bot,
Yeah, I used to do tournaments up until season 9, and so I'm kind of familiar with like balancing that kind of aspect of it. But that was because I still wanted to do it back then. The reason I don't do tournaments now is because I don't want to do tournaments anymore. But occasionally I'll get into a stream where people kind of want me to finish out a tier or just get through a GP or something like that. And like if I don't like 100% want to be there, like it is torture, just grinding it out. And like I'm like, is this how grinders feel when they're just like fucking tortured every day?
No, I know. The VODs are gone, but if you were my first season, the season that I actually competed and won in, like you could see that I for some weird reason, I was on this like idea of like, I refuse to play community tracks this season. I'm just gonna play standard speed run like as many times as I can and the fastest regular tracks because custom tracks take forever to load. And like I was on this weird thing. And so here I am playing the 5 fastest tracks I can, standard match, the 5-1 same over and over, and it's like 4:30 in the morning every single stream that I'm up, and it's like 7 people, 5 people. I'm like exclamation mark! It's miserable. It was miserable, and that's why I don't think after that first run I never had the heart to do it ever again because it took all the joy out of it. I hate to say it. It took all the joy out of playing. So there's people who can keep that high quality energy for long periods of time and high quality stream. I am not one of those people. I can consistently stream and be there for you and try to be there for you every single day, but you have to believe the screen time between you and me is adding up wise is relatively going to be the same.
Oh yeah.
Right. I'm never going to want to take away the quality of the stream just so that I can be on an extra hour longer, right?
Right. And that kind of goes into the last question I had on the topic. Man, we are blowing through these questions like pros. How do you approach either a stream or a stream idea or like a YouTube video? Like before you even think about hitting that start stream button, like what's the process? Or if you like when you were first developing your pizza tournament, like what's the process to either developing a stream or just an idea for a stream series?
Okay. So I think what's interesting about marbles and what's interesting about streaming in general is that it's a very organic thing. When you're learning about marbles, when you're starting to develop a stream, it for me it's pretty organic in the sense that there's a lot of layers to it. There's always more things you can add. There's always things that are changing and growing and adding and coming in and out. And I'm one of those people who I always had a creative instinct, but I never knew a creative part of me, but I never knew how to properly put that out there. As far as I wasn't an artist in the sense I could draw or anything like that. But I think streaming has provided that avenue and that outlet, right? Where I do enjoy having that extra visual and audio type of creativity to it, but doesn't require me to have a full blown artistic skill in me. Right. Therefore, me doing every little thing I put out there on my own, right? I can pull from other sources.
Right.
So as far as ideas go, pizza tournament, overlays, things that I put on stream out, I think a lot of it comes from organic things that I pull out from other people in the community, and I see other people doing similar things, or chat gives me ideas a lot. The pizza tournament came from just a random conversation we were talking about pizza, because we love talking about food. So I was saying, wait a minute, I know that my favorite pizza restaurant sends out pizza to people. So let's make that happen. So it was a very let's spur of the moment, let's make a pizza tournament. So that that just happened on its own, you know. But as far as like putting out overlays, very similar to the way that I had ideas for building tracks. Is actually a lot of my ideas I think about for almost like I want to say like a week or two, you know, and then more so even in track building actually, which is, you know, I'm sure you understand. There's some people who could go in there and just mess with the pieces. I think you have a talent for that and like see and build as you go along. And I think maybe that's a learned skill too from someone who's been building as long and as actively as you have. Yeah.
I mean, I learned it, but I don't think I learned it in marbles.
And think about the look of it in my mind for like a good solid week or so before I could even put it like pen to paper, if you will, you know?
If it is a learned skill, I learned it very early in life, way before marbles.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of, as a normal stream, usually for me, and now that I've been streaming for as long as I have, like over a year now, it's usually like if I have the spur and the feel and the energy and like the want and the need to connect with my friends online and stream, like now I just capitalize it. I just do it. There's no like a lot of like, what am I gonna like? I'm gonna play. Now I'm playing all sorts of different. I'm gonna play some GTA. I'm gonna play some Mario Kart. I'm gonna just play pachinko. I'm gonna tilt. Like it's all now. I think I'm at the point in marbles and in my streaming career where it's like I don't need to plan for specific streams unless it's a bigger event like a tournament or something else. Obviously, every stream I always go back and I look. Oh, there's a little thing I want to change, like sizing wise of windows, things like that. Little details like that. That's not what I'm like. But I don't worry about that before going on stream anymore. That's like after stream, I take care of those little things. I go back, send out my thank you tweets. There's like a kind of a, you know, a rhythm and procedure now that I do after stream. You know,
I got a whole spreadsheet in Google Docs. I just check down all the boxes.
Before.
Yeah.
Right. So there's like a post-stream, you know, mental checkbox that I go through.
Yeah.
And then, you know, maybe not right away, but I come back like half an hour after I get something to eat, and, you know, freshen up, and then go through it. And I think it makes a world of difference because so often when you go on stream, you get bogged down by like, oh, I kind of like want to, like, this is the thing I want to do. And you get like obsessed with the little details right before it. And then you spend energy trying to fix that before you go live. And then by the time you go live, like, it's like you've already been sitting on the computer for like an hour, like, oh, this overlay looks like crap. Like, oh. Like, you know what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And, you know, that's, so smaller streams, regular streams, if they're, you know, I don't, like, at this point, I don't worry about. But when it's, you know, tournament or things like that, YouTube also, because I'm still so new to it, I feel like I need it's a whole outline. Like everything, because everything I say is scripted, you know, from those YouTube videos. So it's like a whole outline of, like, this is where we're coming.
We'll be touching on that in a little while.
In a little while. Okay. Sorry.
I said, I've another place I can go from here, but I was wondering if you still had any questions relevant to the conversation at hand that maybe we could go through, finish out this first hour.
What about, like, I guess is like, I was gonna say like your idea for like stream evolution. Like, where did you kind of like, how much has your stream changed from when you started to where it is now in the sense of like the look, the feel, the environment, like? How have you seen your stream kind of evolve since you've started?
Well, the goal has always been to evolve the stream, right? It'll never get to a static point. It will always be adapting, growing, and changing.
Right.
So, as far as like how much or what those changes are, it's mostly come down to first finding marbles. You know, finding that game that I was looking for a while. It was probably a good 3-4 months that I was just, you know, really stretching out, trying to find where I could get my foot in the door somewhere. So just finding marbles was the biggest change to that. But once I had that, the things I wanted to do were already kind of there, right? So it wasn't so much figuring out how to change, figuring out how to adapt. It was finding the right environment to do all those things in. So now that I've found a good game that I can really root myself into community-wise, you know, I have the ability to be creatively expressive, get engaging YouTube content, slowly building up my social media presence on Twitter and Discord and stuff like that. So, working on it.
Yeah.
It's always a project. It's never going to be done.
I'm sure you have the same thing that I do, and a lot of us quote unquote content creators is like we always feel like we need to be working or like we're always doing something. Mm-hmm. It's very difficult to like quiet the mind, and I know you have that same kind of like mindset, like where it's like it's very difficult for us to quiet the mind.
Yep.
Like even when we're doing something, like the head and the brain is always thinking about
like, the narration is going in the back.
Yeah, there's always something like I can't watch a TV show and just like sit and watch a TV show, right? Yeah. Like working on stream, like doing this thing, working on YouTube. Like it's always like because there's just laser shooting off all day long, right? Yeah. Like, so I definitely understand where you're coming from as far as like wanting to grow and always evolving it and always thinking about it. It's just it's almost a never-ending process. But it comes from like a passion, It really does. It has to. You notice the difference between people who have it and who don't. Right? Who are just like, I'm okay with just turning on a camera and not, like, Yeah, it took a long time for me to train to become that, but that's because I laid the groundwork where I can be comfortable, where I don't have to worry all the time about the look of my stream and just come on, and that's important. But you notice the difference between people who've never thought about it, and who are just like, I'm gonna just like pop on and like this is just me going live, like.
Yeah, and I'll get that a lot with new streamers that are coming to me with advice or for advice. And they'll be like, I want to start streaming, but I don't think I'm good enough at it. It's like, well, you think that now. Wait till you start streaming. You'll think you're even worse. It's like, you think you're bad now. You haven't even begun to realize how bad.
That's perfect. That was the next question that I have for you is what advice would you give to someone who wants to start streaming marbles and streaming in general, but marbles more specifically? Like, what are some tips that you wish you knew that you never knew? Because this goes back to my tutorial stuff. Is I love to hear what you would say to like the old you who just got in.
Yeah, and there's a core stroke of advice that I will always preserve because it's something I use to guide my own stream. But I want to build up to that point. So with streaming, especially new streamers, they will sometimes say to me like, I don't know if I want to do a cam, I don't know if I want to do a mic. And it's like, yeah, but you're streaming, right? You're streaming. You're not playing a game. You're streaming. You can stream, and it's like teaching, right? Once you know how to teach, you can teach anything. Once you know how to stream, you can stream anything. So if you're trying to stream a game instead of trying to learn how to stream, you're not going to be successful. And especially in marbles. I'll regularly say that, and I think a lot of people misunderstand what I'm saying or don't quite understand what I mean by it, is that, like, if you're worried about people getting their tiers for energy, if you're worried about people who leave after 35 races, if you're worried about people not talking, like all these things that are related to the grind of marbles, they're not your viewers. They're not. The top 200, top 1,000 people that play marbles are not your viewers. You're borrowing them for the time they offer you as they play their game, which is on Twitch, right? You're just one of the levels that they have to beat every day on Twitch, right?
Right.
They're not your viewer. So you can't worry about them. You need to respect them. You need to, if you want to build an audience, you have to incorporate them into your model. But they're not your viewer. They're the game's viewer. And that goes for any game, right? If you're trying to stream Hearthstone and you're not gaining any traction, that's because the viewers of Hearthstone have already found their streams. They don't want any more streamers. Unless you're absolutely novel, absolutely unique, absolutely breaking the mold, right?
Right.
So you need to know who's actually your viewer and who's not your viewer. And going further beyond that, there's people who say, like, I don't want to start off slow like everyone else. I want to make a big splash. I'll throw all this money at it. I'll throw all this production at it. I'll do all these online social media promotions, whatever. As like, you can make as big of a splash as you want. You could even get a Pixel by Pixel Studios tournament And sure, you're going to have 100, 200, 300 viewers for your first stream, and everyone's going to go, yeah, this is great, awesome. Next day, 10 viewers, if you're lucky. If you're lucky, 10 people are going to come back the next day. And that's not a bad thing. Those 10 viewers that come back are your most important viewers of your streaming career. And if you can't retain those 10, if you can't turn that 10 into 100, then you have a problem. Going from 200 to 10 is not the problem. Not being able to turn that 10 into 100 is the problem. And so all of that just has, like, you're not going to shortcut the grind to building up a community. You're not going to be able to get over the fact that you have to stream and you can't just play a game. The most important advice, and what I guide my stream by, and I think everyone should guide their stream by, is why do you want to stream? What are you getting out of streaming that you're not getting out of watching someone else stream the same game, that you don't get from just playing the game with your friends? Like, what is it about streaming specifically, uniquely, that makes you want to do it? And that's what you need your stream to be about. Because if you just want to have a good time with your friends, then sure, you'll have a couple of viewers, but they'll all just be your friends that you're having a good time with, right? You're not going to be growing your stream. You're not going to be expanding your stream. You're just going to be streaming you having a fun time with your friends. And only your friends having a good time with you are going to be watching. If you're viewing for the community aspect of it, well, you can be a part of the community without streaming. You can talk in other people's chats. You can talk in Discord. That's not unique to your streaming. So why do you want to stream? What about you streaming is different than you watching someone else's stream or just playing the game with your friends offline? And you have to figure out what that is for yourself. And you have to play into that. So for me, it's creativity. It's novelty. It's showing people things they haven't seen before, making people think about things they haven't thought about before, right? Like, that's the whole point of this show, is get people thinking, get people talking, doing things that no one else is doing in the marbles community or whatever community I'm in. So that's what I do.
Okay.
So.
I was I was watching some of your VODs and old podcasts, and one of the things that I was thinking about, and especially when we both come from Hearthstone and StarCraft, is you said before, people don't want to watch necessarily someone who's not as good as them, right? This is something you brought up, I think, with Miss Dope Sauce, who played Overwatch, all these Blizzard titles. And how do you feel that translates to people getting into marble streaming, as far as, do you know what I'm saying? Like,
right, yeah.
Some of our top marble racers eventually became streamers.
Yep.
Like, and became renowned and became bigger streamers because they started off as being a really well-known competitive marbles racer.
Right.
You know, and then some of us were really competitive marble streamers on the leaderboard, and that's how we made our name, you know? So how much do you think the marble audience needs somebody who needs to be a good marbles player?
Insight is a big part of it, right? So if you know the community, if you know the core marbles functionality, then your stream is going to play into that. And while, you know, some big streamers might do it by accident, if you know what it is, then you can utilize that to mold your stream to cater to those kinds of things. And then you might also, being a veteran, see a lot of things in streams you don't like, so you'll know not to do those things, right? You have that experience, that anthology of knowledge on the game itself. And I think people get deceived because they think, oh, Marvel's just RNG resolution of a physics engine. There's no skill involved. And Pixel has spent the last 3 years building as much skill into this as possible. The energy system is skill. The streamer leaderboard is skill. The community maps are like, everything that is innovative about Marbles on Stream is skill-based, not luck-based.
Right.
So I think people are deceived in thinking it's just a random game and not realizing that there is actually skill involved. And you see that especially right now with Pachinko. Everyone's complaining about, oh my god, the timeouts are so brutal. It's like, that's literally the only skill Pachinko requires.
Yeah.
If you have an internet connection and a keyboard, you can play pachinko. The
Right.
only skill required for pachinko is not getting timed out. Like that's the game. The whole game of pachinko is not getting timed out. If you fix, quote unquote, not getting timed out or making timeouts, then you've removed all skill from the actual game.
Right.
And so again, going back to your question, is like knowing that there's skill involved and being good at one of those skills or being able to cater to people who are good at those skills is really important. That's why I tilt during the day. You know, I've got 3 hours. If I start putting up tilt, all the grinders are going to show up. That's going to give me a core base viewership. And then more people are going to join in. We can move into a story time, or we can watch a 30-minute advertisement on YouTube and make fun of it, right? Or like, so that's a strength you can play into. It's like, okay, I got 3 hours. I can tilt. All the grinders will show up. That'll get me a base group of people watching. More people drop in, and we can start going from there. And it's gaming the skill of that system. If I was a terrible tilter, I wouldn't tilt. I would do races, right? Because people don't want to grind a tilt. Not to say you can't tilt if you're not good at it, but you have to keep in mind, if you're not good at it, grinders aren't going to show up. They're not going to waste 4 hours for 20 points, right? So you need to know what those skills are. And even if you don't possess those skills, you can still play into those skills as far as streaming goes. So yeah, I definitely would think that there's a lot of skill in marbles, and people who are good at it, or at least identify what those skills are the ones that are getting the most successful when it comes to streaming.
Do you ever feel like, I think it's interesting, I read something a while back, probably on Twitter or wherever, that said that one of the things that people don't realize when they first get into streaming is like there's something inherently competitive about it.
Mm-hmm.
The feel of us being, even though we stream the same game and we're friends, we're quote unquote like competing for views.
Yep.
Have you ever felt that way in marbles, or like what is your view on the philosophy of it, or just the general attitude that the community has about it?
So I guess we can go down this rabbit hole a little bit. I'm gonna try not to just take over the next 20 minutes.
No, I want to know, because this is something that I've been curious about. Because I feel like it's kind of a personal question in the sense that I think it kind of outlines your own personal philosophy of how you see the community and how you see marbles and the idea of playing in multiple streams and all that. So it's a can of worms, but I'd love to hear your perspective on it, because I have my thoughts on it.
Yeah, it's definitely a competition, and I think anyone would be a fool not to realize that. Sure, you can be nice and say it's not. Sure, it's not good to be cutthroat about it, and this is kind of where I'm trying to avoid going down a 20-minute long rabbit hole. I'm pretty sure if I had like a full psychiatric analysis performed, I would probably be classified as a sociopath, honestly. And I'm not saying that as like a good or a bad thing. I put very little weight in emotions, and I'm very numbers oriented.
Right.
And I'm very good at manipulating people. I try to manipulate people in a good way for their benefit. That's how I like justify it. Because I've had friends who also like manipulating people, but they always seem to do it for like their own amusement, and it leaves a really bad taste in my mouth. And I'm like, you're not, like, I don't like when you do that. And they say, but you do the same thing. It's like, yeah, but when I do it, they benefit. When you do it, you just laugh. Like, they're not getting anything out of it when you do it. Right?
Right.
It's like, I'm not manipulating them because I'm bored. I'm manipulating them because they don't understand how they could be doing something better. And I need to try to get them there the only way I know how. And it gets messy. It gets weird. But I'm comfortable doing it. And I think part of that might be because I might actually be a sociopath, right? So it's like, I'm trying to wield it for good. But I know at its core it probably isn't. And so to that aspect, like, I have a very oil barren approach to marble streaming. Like, I don't just want to be the highest viewed marble streamer. I want to crush people who are not good. Like, I'm happy with other good streamers doing well and doing better than me. Like if Bax or Deathluck are having more success than me, great. If you're doing better than me, fantastic. You guys earned it. But if someone who's like not even paying attention to the game has like 3 times as many viewers as me. I'm like, fuck these guys. I want to bury them in the dirt. I want them erased off the face of Twitch. I don't want them to have a single viewer left.
I would say I kind of relate to that in the earlier, like as far as like my childhood and like my teen years, is that I was definitely like same thing, probably a sociopath. I feel like I was a very manipulative person, but I always felt like I was using my powers for good, right? And it took me years to break that habit, because I had a very like my group of friends who I love and who were like family to me, because I didn't grow up with my parents. Just like a little background, I grew up with my grandparents, like a classic immigrant story. But my friends became my family, But throughout most of my teen years, I felt like I was always very like cliquey, and I was playing a chess game with all of them.
Yeah, it's like, okay, what would a normal human do in this situation?
It was until I left and went to college and came back that like that habit finally broke. But for years, it felt like I was playing a chess game with them. So I totally understand what you mean. And to this day, sometimes it's hard not to look at the marbles community in that way, right? Like you have your allies and you have people who are not your allies. Mm-hmm. And it's not to say that there are new people coming in. And it's funny because I think the marbles community is quick to sometimes gravitate on the hot new thing to latch onto, because we're always looking for for innovation. So like the hot new splash does make an impact, and people tend to gravitate towards it. But after all these seasons, I've been very guarded as to like who I kind of seek out when that splash is made. I like take a step back. Even some people who I'm not going to name any names, but like seasons later, I'm great friends with. If you noticed, when those people first started arriving on scene, new people first start arriving on scene are big and make a big splash, I've never, like, quote unquote, bought into the hype.
Right.
Recently, last year and a half, a year or so, half a year, it's been very, like, cautious, right? You never want to, like, come off as self-promoting because you don't know what background they come from, if that's something that's, like, allowed. So, like, me coming in as a streamer, I don't ever want them to see me and like, it's like the enemy, quote unquote. You don't want them to see you like scoping them out, obviously, or scouting them out, but you are doing it sometimes. Mm-hmm. And so therefore I'm not as active. There's definitely a period where I feel out a new, quote unquote, member of the community. Yeah. Obviously it's different because sometimes they'll get the rub, right? Like they'll be like a well-known person in the community gives them the nod, meaning like this person's okay.
Right.
And then like, that's when I come in and kind of like, okay, right. Like I want to check it out.
Like, hey, have you seen this streamer? It's like, yeah. It's like, you should check out what they're doing right now. It's like, oh, well, if Shen likes him.
It's not even, exactly. If Shen says he's okay, he must be okay. No, well, it's not Shen, but it was not you that I was thinking about. Do you know what I'm saying? But like, it takes a moment. And to be honest, even when you first started streaming, I was like, you and I weren't friends right away.
Right.
I would say that. You and I weren't friends right away. It wasn't until you've been streaming for a while that you and I started like hanging out more and like getting to know each other more. But you were already making a big splash in the community, and it took me, I would say, like at least a season or two for us to like actually warm up and be on like regular talking terms.
Yeah.
Right, and that's just the nature of the game, isn't it?
Yeah,
like
it's you don't see a lot of Twitch gamers with that mentality, right? So like
no.
You've got like your Tim the Tap Man and his circle of friends, and they're not talking to their, like when they do like a Apex tournament, right? Each team of the tournament is like these isolated Twitchospheres, right? Like there's very little cross pollination between each of the groups. So I always like seeing that too. Is like when you see a game doing like a multi-channel tournament where like 50 different top gamers are streaming the same game at the same time, and you see the way the teams are structured and you see the lack of overlap between each of the teams, you're like, wow, this is brutal, right? Like, yeah, they each have 20,000 views, but they're 20,000 isolated views, which like blows my mind, because Marbles is the entirely opposite of that. It's like we all share the same 20,000
we all
viewers.
Share the same people, right?
So it's so weird to look at it when you're not in that environment, but you also have to realize like that's the normal. The normal is it really is that oil baron kind of thing, right? And just Marbles is a little weird in that way, which as Pixel has constantly been proving, it's a good thing. It's a good step in a new direction.
Right, you can't be scared of that competition, right?
Yeah.
Because that's, in many ways, if you don't compete for the leaderboard, you don't compete for, Tilted or whatever it is, like, there needs to be some kind of drive, some other force to drive you. And if that's a competition for views and that's what it needs for you to have that incentive, then like you need to embrace that and you need to view that as a good thing, right?
Yep.
And this is not to say you don't support your fellow streamers, because I feel like I wouldn't be here today, and I know you wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for other people in the community, right? Like shouting us out, supporting us, coming to watch our stream, getting attention onto our streams, hosting us, rating us, doing all these things to help support other growing streamers. But like that's what I'm talking about, is like that nod from like one of us, quote unquote. We're going back
one
to
of us.
Streamer.
One of us.
Exactly. The nod from one of us. There's like, and this is, I hate to say it, this goes back to that feel of like a cliquey thing where it feels like there's people who are like different, and this is terrible to say, but I hate to say it, you were right, it's the truth of it, is that there seems to be sometimes this tier, not just in Twitch, but in Marbles as well, where it's like everything's just the system, the way it's built, it has a feel of tier class. There's like the very inner circle at the top of the studio, then like the outer periphery, and then the rings go outer and outer and outer and outer, and it feels like sometimes we're all just trying to get in one circle closer, right, to the center.
Yep.
It's
just one big pyramid scheme.
People say that on Twitch all the time, and I hate telling that to my friends who are like, "What is Twitch?"
It's a pyramid scheme.
Kind of like a pyramid scheme, but it's like, there's people who are just viewers, and then there's subs, and then those subs one day become mods, and then the VIPs or whatever, and then they become streamers themselves, and then they have their own subs, and then
they're affiliates, and then they're partners, and then they're featured streamers.
And then they come back to you, and they bring the money that they earned to you because they're giving you subs. Like, you know what I'm saying? It feels
and then
like
you get to the triple black diamond level.
When you get the platinum card, and then you don't gotta wait in line at TwitchCon, you just cut through security.
Yeah.
With like a security escort, and you see that. Like, I mean, I don't know if you've been to TwitchCon or you've been to BlizzCon, right?
No, but I watched them all. So
you've seen that where like literally those like quote unquote those are the rest of us are waiting in line for like an hour to go through security, and then like there goes like a big name like Hearthstone player or streamer just literally like.
Right through the back door.
Team from Korea. Just the line to go through metal detectors, like escorted by people because they got a throng of fans waiting. Like never seen like fanfare for a game until you saw a South Korea team of StarCraft where it was getting on like lobbying to the stage because it's ridiculous. They literally walk them through security. There's no like like what? I've been sitting here for like an hour to get into the stadium and like they won't even let us sit down.
Yeah.
Like, it's funny. Then that's I hate to say it. It's hard for us, quote unquote, looking at the business side of things to not look at this game in that way. And those of us who have like that analytical background that you do and I do, to not see it structured that way. It doesn't come without like practice to not to like regularly tell yourself these are your friends. Like
like stop, friend.
It's not food. Like, that's really what it comes down to. I hate to say it, and you're right. Like it's hard. You want to tell people that we're all trying to help each other out, and we are. But there are definitely people who I think the community looks upon and be like, we don't want that. I don't know.
All right. Well, I think we have successfully landed deep in the weeds, and there's only one weed whacker we know here on this show. The midstream mix-up! Yay! Let's do it. All right, we're just gonna. Whew, oh, look what I did. I did a thing. I did a thing. I don't know what I did, but I did a thing. Woo! Jeez. All right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna watch our old YouTube videos. Yeah, we're doing that thing. Before I do this, I have to make sure, GJC, do I have full DMCA compliant permission to show this? Let me get my lawyer on the phone. Hold on. Yeah, we'll get a conference call going here.
Smooth license. So do I have permission? Yeah, you're fine. Let's go.
All right, let's do it. So this is GJC's first week update.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully the volume's good. Let's see. It's a little quiet. I'm gonna turn it up.
Oh god.
Why do I hear
nothing? Hey guys, GJC here to teach you about Marbles on Stream, which is the Marbles Racing game available on Steam.
Oh my god, look at those old chevrons.
The most frequently asked questions from new racers and streamers alike, which is, how do I get those cool marble effects?
I don't know why it's so quiet.
Marbles is free to play and download.
Probably because I'm so bad at it.
Start off with the basic default marble.
Probably because of me. It's probably 100% my fault. I just didn't know what I was doing back then.
That little extra flair. Cosmetics and marbles can be divided into two categories: skins and effects.
Do you actually hear it?
I can hear it barely, yeah.
The skins are chosen by the streamer, and the effects are chosen by the racer. If you'd like to know more about how streamers can pick, purchase, a customized skin
that's
for
good.
their
That's
stream,
good. You had everything prepared. Nice, smooth demonstration. That was good.
You can find the link.
No, I feel like there's so much like editing. If you could hear the voice Beverly, I feel like the timing of it was like completely off. Like, cause I literally shot the video and then
kind of talk over it, yeah,
and then try to talk over it, right, as I re-recorded it. And then there's this random. This is all on OBS too. This is before I downloaded Premiere Pro. This is all on OBS.
Yeah.
So like you can imagine how like choppy was. I didn't have any like thing to like kind of put it together.
It's season 15, week 1. That's what this one is.
These effects can be separated
Wow.
into 3 categories: spawns, trails, accessories, and.
I would say you always had good pacing. Like a
Really?
very,
Spawns are the default
like
effects that
vocally.
go off
Like I know the
Oh.
editing's a little chunky
trails
in the
and
video.
accessories consist
I
of-
always feel like I talk too fast because I was always trying to squeeze it under 5 minutes, and I
Right.
still do that. I still feel like I talk way too
That,
fast.
I think the vocal pacing's really good, actually.
Things such as race cars, UFO ships, hats, umbrellas, and even the.
Was this before you started zooming in on
finishes
things?
are effects that occur
Probably. I don't know.
Because I know I distinctly remember one of the videos like struck me as the first time, like where you like zoomed in on a part of the customized map or something, and it was like, oh, that's a really good idea. Good job, GJC.
Make sure to join the Pixel by Pixel Discord to get notified when.
So yeah, I mean,
So goofy.
the audio's a little quiet, but I suffer the same problem myself because my stream I always have a little quieter because I hate loud streams.
Those are the typical.
Yeah, me too.
So I always have to remember to adjust the volume when I put it into a clip so it's a little louder for YouTube.
Like a meteor with a giant explosion.
All right, well, fair's fair. Let's see what old Shen has. Oh boy.
Greetings to all and welcome to
Oh, that headset mic.
Shenanigans, and in this series of This Is How I Do
That
It, I'm going over
headset
Hearthstone's
mic.
Curse of
Oh, turn it down.
Naxxramas.
Oh, turn
This
it
video
down.
will be about a new
Knocks out.
recon in the Arachnid Quarter.
Okay, I have to say, so this was the first like YouTube series I ever did. It was Naxxramas Tahiti Monday, and
A noob has
the
45
editing was
health
god
and can
awful.
summon
It
a
took me like
4/4
10 hours
for
just to
2
get like
mana.
the
His
footage
power is set
because
to
you're
low
dealing with
priority,
RNG,
however,
so you have to
he
like
will
keep
play
doing
it
things over and over and over
before
again.
using his power.
And then
This
I'd
is
have to
something
get all
we
the
will
clips together,
explore.
and then I have to do
He
vocal
also has
takes.
very
And I had
bad
never
removal
done
for
like real
couple
vocal
correct
work
damage
before,
cards, and then
so
he
I was
can
doing
remove
like
creatures.
10 takes
There
for
are a
every
couple
cut.
ways
I'm
to
just
do
like,
that.
oh my
Me too.
god.
But this is Tahiti Monday.
It's literally like 3 hours for every minute of
I still
content.
do. I still take like 3-minute video, 10-minute audio takes. Like,
But unlike most people, I'm
Priest,
actually really
Shaman,
happy with
and
my early
Druid are
stuff.
all pretty good for taunt minions with
I wouldn't have done it
low
if I didn't
and
think it was
since my
good.
Druid cards are better than my Priest
And I
or
think that
Shaman
holds
cards,
up. Like, yeah,
I'm
there's things I
using
could
Druid.
improve upon, clearly.
First, we need some
But
acceleration to get
I'm
those
happy
taunt
with it
minions
for,
out.
for what
I
it was.
think it's great. Like a lot of the stuff that you do, like as far as like just basic production or like visual things that are needed, like transitions and stuff like that. I never thought to do that. Well, not thought, but like I didn't do that because I was so new at it. I just was like more concerned about like getting stuff out there, right? At that point, because I was like, this is the time I need to do it. If I don't start doing it now, like, it's never gonna happen, right?
For our creatures, we have
This is.
Marco,
I would have liked to
Nature,
keep the series going, but it got to the point where the game was changing so
Sunwalker,
frequently.
Beast, Ironbark
Like I'd have to
Protector,
redo
and
everything
Ugastic,
every
2 legendaries,
update. It was just like
epic
4
rares
updates a
of
year.
your choice.
It's just like,
I
no.
chose the little reliable
I'm giving up on
Straza
this.
and Ysera.
This is too
Without
much work
further
for one
ado,
man.
Let's get into it.
It's making me miss Hearthstone.
These were the heydays, man.
I know.
Back when I could still win games. Oh. I don't think I've won a Hearthstone game in like 5 years.
Maybe that's what we should have done, is done a mix-up of you, a little for the mid-season mix-up, me versus Shenanigans.
Yeah, that would be fun. We could do a Hearthstone battle with our way out
my God,
deck.
I haven't played in months, probably years.
So yeah, I mean, good stuff, fun times. What have you learned since then? Like, what's the biggest thing, as far as like, and I'm not talking like, you know, creativity or stuff, just like technically. Like, what's one of the biggest things you learned technically?
Technically, I think even if you look from like season to season, you'll notice that like the look of the whole thing has changed, right? One of the things I wanted to stay consistent early on is like I wanted the logo, I wanted a striker in the beginning, like like something that comes in, has the logo, a unique sound that can remind you, which is like my most famous clip.
There's only one sound. There's only one sound.
Oh my God, the most unique sound that everyone knows about me, which is that dunk. Like, because I really, and that goes back to like making a splash in the community, right? Like, I feel like a lot of people, if they ever saw my stream, was on Community Day when Spoo used to make YouTube videos. Shout out to Spoo, wouldn't be doing videos if it wasn't for him. He put me in one of his clips, like montages, and that was like the first time I think a lot of people ever saw my face, and they were like, "This guy is excited! Like, he made this crazy dunk, a double bounce dunk," and like that, like I think that was like my first impression for a lot of people. So I was like, I'm going to include that into Hearthstone. And that goes back to other people I've seen, not Hearthstone, into Marbles. That goes back to the Hearthstone player I was saying is Trump. Trump has a striker opening for all his videos too.
Yeah.
Trump SC.
Yeah.
You know, something like the man, that's what he says, the man. I was like, I want that. Like, that's a good thing to have in your video. So that's the only thing that I was like, I want to stay consistent. After that, I feel like I've turned the whole update almost like upside down, the way I do things. I found out that it's easier for you to have a basic blueprint layout of it. That's always the same as far as like the look of it. And then you just drag and drop in the different clips from the new episodes in. So now all of mine consistently.
Okay.
Like,
yeah. Right.
The different sections, Marbler of the Week, the intro, Marble Events of the Week, Trackmaster's Corner, Meta, they all have the same intro like look before, especially earlier episodes. Every single person, every single episode was individualized, but that took so much work for literally less than 2 seconds every single title screen.
Right.
When I could just consistently use one that looks good for all of them across the board, and that way that it has the consistent feel. And that's really goes back to like, I wouldn't have learned that or knew that to do that right away, right? It had to be learned from several episodes and watching it several times and being like, okay, this is a lot of work. Like, how can I, you know, it's the fool who doesn't know it's a fool who like does the same job every single day and has no idea how to like manage that and turn that into like a shorter time and make it easier for themselves.
Yep.
You know, like if you are doing the same thing every single day and you're not efficiently, you know, this goes back to our analytical idea. If you're not efficiently accomplishing all your goals and finding easier ways to accomplish those quote unquote menial tasks and all that extra like effort on those menial things, then you're like what are you doing? Like you're just you're on cruise control, right? Like
that's how I developed the Tilted videos. Is it took me a while to find a format I actually liked.
Right.
But once I found it, now it's just like drop it in, copy the format, publish the video. It's really streamlined. It keeps it easy to watch because you always know what you're getting into. So you're not like trying to figure out like, what is this video doing now? Because it's like, oh yeah, this format, I got it. Right. Just something really easy to digest and really easy to replicate. So streamlining, important for YouTube production, absolutely. And then there's this video. So like that's where we started, and then this video happened.
Oh my God!
I can hear it.
Oh my God!
And there's
Hey
volume.
guys, GJC here with your Marbles on Stream update for Season 16, Week 3. Let's kick things off with a meta report. Now that the Marbles on Stream meta has been updated for both iOS and Android, I wanted to explain how to navigate it. The home screen shows your current energy tiers, profile information,
so I like changed it, and now I feel like now I have it at like a better volume.
The shopping cart
Perfect
is the
volume.
in-app store where you can purchase the customizations.
It took
Items in the
like
shop
2-3
range
seasons to
daily
figure out the
or
right
hourly.
volume for YouTube.
On the right side, you will see a column of icons, each representing a different category.
So this is the Zoom I was
The first
talking
marble
about, right?
icon
Like
is
this
where
is
you
your
can find
phone
skins and modifiers for sale.
that
The
you've
marble with
captured, right?
headphones on represents
this is,
streamer custom
I use
skins.
BoostX.
The third icon
Okay.
is for effects and trails. The profile pic with a pin icon is where you can purchase profile backgrounds and pins. Moneybags is the season bundle, which includes a season
But see, like what I mean by the
skin,
audio pacing?
an effect, as well as 100 pixel by pixel coins. You can purchase more pixel by pixel coins under the coin icon. The paintbrush is where you can customize and equip all the things you bought for your marble. The first white marble icon is for equipping skins.
That's a good one.
The second clear marble is
Jeff
for
V6
modifiers.
Gold.
The third icon is for equipping effects and trails.
So
And the last two are for equipping pins and profile backgrounds.
When you and I talked about doing this episode
can be
together,
found under the trophy icon.
I knew that I was going to do this big breakdown. I was like, this.
Please also remember to join the Pixel by Pixel Discord, as well as follow the studio on
There's
Twitter.
a lot of things in there, and then I'm like, oh shit, this is going to break like this is going to be an hour-long update. Like, I can't believe
streaming mostly StarCraft.
But I was like, all right, I'm game because we told the idea.
January 1st of 2019.
I was like, I want to do this.
Excuse me, Shens. I'm in the middle of my marbles update.
Yeah, I know. I love these videos, man. I'm watching it right now.
Yeah, you're in the video this week. People can hear you eating those chips.
Oh, really? Sorry, GJC. I didn't realize.
Well, since I got you here, you might as well.
Yeah, because I came up with the idea of this because I was watching all your videos up until this point, and I was like, what if it was like you're watching the highlight and then they like turn to the camera like, oh, hi GJC, right? Like it'd be so cool.
Competition.
No one said they wanted to do anything like this, so I was like, all right, let's do
We
it.
got lots going on. We got Thursday flares. We take the worst ranked maps. We give them a second chance at life. Every Friday, we're running our 1 hour track multiple times. Yay.
I love it.
We did it. We did it. So, fun things. Fun things.
Yeah, it's crazy. And even from that episode to now, you can see there's such a huge difference.
Still, yeah. Absolutely. All right, well, I think Mystery Mix Up. Success! We did it. We did it. GG's. All right, as is tradition, you, sir, shall lead the second half. Give us a launching point.
Let me see. Oh, I'm sure this was covered actually, but I guess maybe this will be a little bit more detailed. I know after watching all your other old podcasts, I found out people loved asking you these questions. But I was going to say about things that you want to change about marbles, but because that's kind of been answered on your podcast, I was thinking more about things you would change about Tilted. And if you could add an obstacle to it, what would it be?
I've actually already submitted some stuff to Pixel.
I know you have, but we're not giving any crazy things away. If you know something's coming along.
The one idea would be a mustache tile. So you know how you have the divider room that kind of splits you out? So you'd have an initial point, and then it would go out like a mustache, and then it would curl.
So more like the two crescents together, kind of?
So it would have an initial divide on the front of it, but if you pulled back into it, you'd have the two hooks of the size of the mustache to catch your marbles. So when it's first introduced, it'd be introduced to like 42 or 48, and you would be using it as a safety piece, as like a backwards crescent, essentially, right?
Right.
But then the next difficulty, it starts rotating. And then those hooks are now trapping marbles instead of you being able to use it. I thought it would just be really fun.
Oh, that's evil.
Just having like the evil rotating mustache. Just if any of your marbles get caught in the little hook of the mustache, you can't get them out. They're just trapped forever.
Oh, I like it.
So that'd be fun, something like that. But yeah, so that's the one piece I think would be really fun to have in for obvious reasons. I'm a little biased on that, but it'd be a cool functionality to implement.
And then, like, as far as Tilted in general or the game, like, what are your thoughts about the way it's integrated, the way this comes up all the time. People always say it should be separate from the rest of the game. It's obviously a touchy subject for a lot of us, but like, how do you think it should be integrated in the game and its relationship to the larger game? I think, as in general, is there things that you would change with it? Obviously, there is, but what are your ideas on that?
I think difficulty progression is just the biggest thing. Obviously, you're doing procedurally generated maps, but I think there's a framework already up that can be worked with to improve difficulty, and I've made a couple proposals about that, but I want to see what Pixel has in mind, because he has a bit of a rework that he just needs to like get out of his head. So I'm fine being content and just seeing what he does and then commenting on that. So it's one of those questions where I'll have more to say
when you see the
when I
newest
see
version.
what his new direction is. But whatever the direction is, I think difficulty progression needs to be a focus for sure. You can't just throw, tilting tile, drawbridge, revolving bridge at someone on their first 35. That's got to stop. It's got to stop. I'm sorry.
Yeah. There's got to be a logic option where it's like in those first few levels, these combos will never show up together.
Exactly. And in the current framework of Tilted, it's actually not too difficult to create that. Mm-hmm. But it just, it takes manpower. It takes time. There's only so many people in the studio. So that's been the goal of the Tilted Army is, put so much pressure on Tilted that he has to take it seriously. And I was watching his podcast this morning because I missed it yesterday. He literally said, so many people are involved in Tilted now, I have to pay attention to it. And it's like, yeah, we did it. Mission accomplished, guys. Mm-hmm. We put the screws to Pixel, and now he's feeling the pressure. So that was the whole goal, and we've done it.
It's interesting that you use that phrase, like the Tilted Army is that like and this goes back to like the type of viewer and the type of person you are, or the type of streamer you are. I think in the larger Marbles community, is that like, do you feel like because you're such the front face of Tilted in this company in the game, do you feel like you've actively quote unquote like recruited or moved quote unquote chess pieces around to like bring people in? For Tilted, just because you're like, we need this guy on our side to like
the puppet master.
What did you think? Like, is that something like? Because I know, and this is not giving anything away, there's a group of us who refer to us as like the Tilted Army, who's like quote unquote different the inner circle of us who are like actively strategizing as to how we can grow Tilted, right? And like I'm obviously not at the very top echelon of that, but I feel like I'm like, moving closer to that, and as that like I've been welcomed by some of the people on the top to be like, you need to get in on this with us because we need your help. It's not like I've been manipulated, but people who are in that inner circle have reached out to me, not just you, and I won't name anyone else, but who have actively been like, yo, like get on board with us because we need your help.
Yeah, it's a community effort, absolutely. All right, we're gonna go crazy. I'm gonna take pretty much everything we talked about in the first hour and plug it into this answer. Okay.
Okay.
We're gonna use Dark Madden as our connecting thread to all of this. Okay. So going back to the sociopath, like it kills me when Dark Madden has more viewers than me when we're streaming at the same time. But they've earned it. Their name's on the top of the leaderboard. They've earned it. I'm fine. Like they've earned it. I'm not wishing any ill on them. They have absolutely done everything right, and they deserve to have the viewers they have. And right now, if their name's on top of the leaderboard, they should have more viewers than me. But it kills me, right? And having been number one on the leaderboard every season for Tilted, it's always fun watching new viewers who are watching these other streamers like Ken or Dark Madden. They're like, oh, they're the greatest tilter of all time. I was like, well, we'll see.
Reach the highest in the tournament.
And then going back to that community aspect of it, the reason Dark Madden has been able to explode in a brief 2-month period is because we work together, because of the Tilted Army.
Right.
They watch me stream, I watch them stream. Like, there are some techniques, like recovering on a tilting tile, like floating the middle of a tilting tile to get into a revolving bridge. That technique didn't exist for the first 4 seasons of Tilted, right? There's a lot of techniques, especially in the higher difficulties, that didn't exist, right? Pixel just created Tilted. That's all he created. Every technique, every strategy has all been created by the people tilting. Senshin, Ken One Up, myself, Spoo, you, anyone who's come up with any single new idea, even Grandma's Cookies. He came up with an idea of peeling off of the small square instead of the big square in the 5-square tile, right?
Right, and that's like commonly used by all of us now.
Exactly.
So it seems like it's like 101 basic tilting technique.
Right, and that's kind of my point is you see these new tilters exploding where they're getting up to 35 in like their first week of tilting. But they're only able to do that because of the framework we've built for them. And that goes back to the Tilted Army. I recognize that this is an incredibly difficult game that requires so much compartmentalized knowledge to master. Mm-hmm. And if Pixel isn't going to create even a Discord channel for Tilted, which I'm still asking for, this is like my 5th season, begging Tilted or begging Pixel for a Tilted Discord channel. And like, so if we don't even get a Discord channel, someone has to do something to organize all of our efforts to create a healthy Tilted environment where we can make each other better. Mm-hmm. And that was the birth of the Tilted Army. It's like, I'm going to make an army of Tilters, and together we're going to tackle this fucking beast, and we're going to make it a huge thing. Mm-hmm. And that we're getting close. I was hoping this was the season we take over with the Tilted tournaments, but we still have some stuff to work out. Mm-hmm. But now that Pixel's noticing, like Pixel's like, oh, I better look at Tilted again, right? Mm-hmm. That speaks very well of next season. And next season, with no more bonus energy, people are going to be running out of energy, and they're going to have to tilt if they want to get more points. So next season is really gearing up for a big tilt season. Mm-hmm. So these are all kind of the things that we're really looking into. And going back to that cooperative versus competitive streamer side is, you know, we have to work together to advance in the game. No one person's going to build the entire technique pool that streamers use. And even now, right, there's something I've commented on previously, is Dark Madden has this like Twitch correction that he uses where he's constantly spamming micro inputs into the board. It's an entirely different way of tilting, and it's not how I tilt, and I don't think it will ever be a way I tilt. And so now we're seeing, not only have we developed a huge catalog of tilting techniques, but now we have different techniques, right? It's almost like, you know, with American football, right? There's offensive teams and defensive teams, and there's short plays and long plays. Like, not only is there just the basic techniques of the game, but now you're seeing these different meta strategies that are incompatible. Like, they're two separate schools of thought.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it, is having all of this emergent behavior coming out of the mode and coming out of the game. And any change, and this goes to the track builder too, like, you don't want specificity in any of these games, because emergence comes out of interconnections, right? And the more specific something is, the less interconnective property it has. You need basic things, you need common things, you need mutable things. And it's because of these things that allows stuff like Tilted and the map builder to really explode, right? So, like, what is Pixel developing for next season that we know of for the map builder? Well, he's not coming out with any more Ferris wheels, but he is coming out with like 10 more basic shapes, because the circle, triangle, square shape has been such a transformative power in the builder. And that's the point, right? Is basic shapes are what the builder needs, not Ferris wheels, right? So Tilt is the same way. You know, you're not going to make a tile that's as good as Parallels, Revolving Bridge, Tilting Tile, Drawbridge. Those 4 tiles coming together in that combo is this explosive monster that you could never create as a single tile. Right? So whatever the change is, it needs to be emergent and not specific. But, you know, it's... The idea of the Tilted Army at its core is just a way to unify an effort, right? You have all these little streams doing all their little things, and it's kind of like a headless snake that just wanders, right? But if you can give that snake a head, then you can all wiggle in the same direction. And we're wiggling right at Pixel, and he's nervous because it's a giant snake now with a head coming right at him. So, mission accomplished, everyone.
Yeah.
Well done.
And we talk about this during the Tilt tournament, I think, all the time, is that ever since the game showed up, I think there's been a fight almost on Twitch for like quote unquote legitimacy, like to be recognized. Pixel had to like fight to get this recognized as a category and not just like a Twitch play thing, right? That took so much effort just to get our own category in the game.
Yep.
There was a movement for like legitimacy in the sense of seeing it as a quote unquote like an actual esport or things like that. So before Tilted, for those of you guys who've ever seen it, I don't think we've had it this season yet, is Wade mode, which was something we tried out. Oh my God, like every once in a while, every week, like once a week.
It's fun, but only if streamers know how to game it.
Yeah, only streamers know how to game it, right? So like we thought that that Wade mode was going to be that direction towards like legitimizing it as an esport, because now there's like an extra skill factor to it every time you input a marble, right? But at the end of the day, it turned out to be just, we all knew which was the most ideal. Like,
it's like, oh right, jumps. We forgot about jumps. Right, jumps exist.
Yeah, like that's all it came down to, right? And so that kind of died out the way it did, which is like we had to take that turn in order to realize it. So like I've always seen Tilted now as this emerging thing. And this is someone who, I've just said this before every single Tilt tournament, I refused to play Tilted for the longest time. You know that. And that's one of the things probably why you and I never talked for a while. Because you're like, this guy doesn't even play Tilted.
He's one of those race grinders that we've heard about. Those tortured marbles.
And that might have been the downfall of one of my seasons too. That I was talking about the downfall of that 14th season that I was grinding, season 14. I was the only person in the competitive top 10, 11 who like almost never tilted. Like I refused to tilt because I just thought that it was like a totally different thing, and I didn't even want to like.
It needs its own leaderboard. It needs its own energy system. It shouldn't be even under the marbles category.
It its own thing, and I was under this idea that it should be its own thing. Nowadays, obviously, it's like I'm different about that, and I have more thoughts about it because we've seen how it's grown. But I was very like, I just didn't want to do it, and nowadays I see it as like that's our avenue into like legitimacy as an esport, as a game, right? Like I really think if we don't lean heavily into that, we might never have that recognition outside in the larger Twitch atmosphere of like marbles can be a competitive sport. Mm-hmm. Like this is it. There's no better avenue, and there's nothing developed in the game to the point where we have something we can call even remotely to an esport unless it's tilted. Right. And if we don't lean heavily on that, I think we're going to lose that opportunity to strike with the iron hot. Right?
Yeah, I think Yusuf pushing for speedrun is a big move.
It is.
And we definitely need to make sure we're as transparent with Pixel about it as possible, because, like the core rule of speedrun is you need to make sure you're in line with the vision of the game creator. And so I know Pixel is very big on making sure everything is streamed. So it's one of those weird things we kind of figure out is the only way to guarantee like real competitive speedrunning of Tilted would be have classifications. So like a 10 marble simulation speedrun, 20 marble simulation speedrun, 100 marble simulation speedrun, right? And that's just so there's a level playing field. So there's no timer. There's no variability in marble counts. Like it's actually a level playing field that everyone can grow in. But that's going to encourage off-stream gaming, which Pixel doesn't want for marbles, right? So how do we balance it? How do we come up with a structure? Like I know Pixel has proposed the idea like the end cards already post your time. So what if there's just a little background function that just adds up all those times? So, you get to level 1, 17 seconds. You get to level 2, 20 seconds. Total time, 37 seconds, right? Like, we'll just add one more line. Time of the run, or time of the level, and then time of the run. Like, just have a second tally there that keeps track of all the times for all the levels you did up until that point, right? So something like that might be better, because then you've eliminated waiting for people to join in, and you've eliminated the startup time, and you've eliminated a lot of those variables. You still have the variability of live runs, but you'll be more incentivized to do it live. And then maybe just have to make a rule, like have a cap 10 speed run, have a cap 20 speed run, have a cap 100 speed run, right? So And that kind of goes into regulating the community too, right? Like, so we actively, as a Tilted community, shun simulations, right?
Right, we used to play it.
Fedge got to 40 on the leaderboard and was like number 2 with a simulated run, and they couldn't get to 40 live.
Right.
And so all of us live tilters got past 40. And it's like, all right, we'll just have to show them that we don't need simulations to be the best, right?
Right.
And that's just community regulated. There's literally nothing stopping the best tilter from never streaming, getting on top of the leaderboard with, level 70, whatever. And there's nothing we can do about it. But as a community, we've prioritized not running simulated runs. So it could just come down to, even though simulated would be best for speedrunning, we just, as a community, choose not to allow simulation, right? And then we just have to work around that decision. Who knows? But yeah, as far as esport goes, I think Pixel has plenty of options left. I know he's been fooling around with the golf mode. He's got the boost. I think the boost mode is a really good idea. Just needs a better way to implement it, right?
Right. Where there's like a delay issue.
Yeah. Because, if you look at Twitch racers, they have a double boost per racer for every run, and it works out great. It's a great mechanic. So where's the balance? That's the question.
Okay. Try to see if I have any questions that are related more to tilting. How about... Oh, okay. So this is interesting. Is that like, I know you put tilted videos on YouTube and things like that as well. Do you feel like, okay, so like, I guess somebody said this to me a while ago, and and it kind of stuck in my head, is that there's like 2 types of streamers, right? There's the people who consistently online long periods, like their presence is like 12-hour streams every day, like consistent, right? And then there's the people who stream and then put like, they get what they need for stream and then they like throw it on YouTube. Do you know what I'm saying? And like, how do you think that kind of works as far as that idea for formula? How does that, or I guess that's like a key to success, or a formula for success that they always tell streamers, is that you need to put content that's on there, like offline when you're not online. They have content they can reach easily, right? For YouTube, is like, how do you think that translate though, and does that work for like marbles?
It works. I don't think it matters what you're streaming. I don't know if many of you know about Vinesauce, that network of gamers that they've gone pretty much all live, but they used to do just YouTube videos. And now that they're all live stuff, a lot of them have 2 channels. So they'll have, like, I think the one is Skeletor, and then it's like Skeletor LD or whatever. And the idea being the Skeletor is still the same videos that are chopped up and super polished for YouTube, and then the LD channel is just stream clip, just like, here's 2 hours of the last stream and here's 5 hours of the stream before that, right? And I think that just has to be a conscientious decision. Like, for me, YouTube is archival, so I have no problem like taking the first time I hit Blue Wood. I started at level 42, died at level 57, boom, hour and a half long video posted, right? Or Tilted Tournament, right? 2 hours, and another 2 hours, done, right? So archivally is how I use YouTube. But that being said, having a Tilted commercial, having a should you run my 1 hour track intro explanation video, those are also useful. And so I put those up there, and they have more views than the archival footage because they're more geared toward the YouTube audience. But I don't want to use YouTube as my main content production. So it's supplemental to the stream and archival to the stream. So that's just how I choose to use it. So it's, as long as it's a conscientious decision as to how you want your YouTube channel to be, that's like, so like if you have Dashy Games, very good YouTube gaming videos, does live streams that don't do as well, and also has premieres for some of his series, and those work better. So his Mario Maker, he does premieres, so everyone gets to watch it live in chat, and the way he interacts with his viewers through his videos works in a crazy genius way. Like, he'll predict what chat's going to do in the video because he knows his community. And so during the premiere, something happens in chat, and then like a minute later, he says in his video what happens in chat. And it's like this genius predictive power because he knows his community so well and knows his content so well. So as long as it's a conscientious decision as to what you want YouTube to be, it's going to work. Just as long as you use it that way and stay true to that idea.
Okay. Let's see what else I was thinking about.
I have a question.
Sure, go.
What's the difference between real Chinese food and American Chinese food?
Oh my goodness. Well, I think did I talk to you about this before? I feel like I've been saying this a lot. There's like,
we teasingly brought it up in a brief conversation.
So, as far as like Chinese food goes, like for me, it's just home cooking, right? Like, isn't it? Like, that's just what I'm used to. We eat it at home. I don't think of it as Chinese. People don't call Chinese food, obviously. They just call it
just food. That's what's for dinner.
I will say Americanized Chinese food, quote unquote Americanized Chinese food, is just a very, very small subsection of all the giant palette of Chinese cuisine, right? Chinese cuisine is just like American cuisine. If you think about it, if you look at China, you put it up in the United States, relatively speaking, large countries.
Yes.
What you eat in the north of America, in the north part of North America in the USA, is not the same as what you eat in the Southwest. And it's not going to be the same that you eat in New York versus Chicago versus LA. See what I'm saying? But all three of those places and everywhere in America, they know how to make a burger. And they all make burgers. But you're not going to eat the same burger from region to region.
Yep.
And that's exactly what it is. The Chinese food we get in the United States is from a very, very small section.
Most of it, I think, came from a lot of the railroad workers and miners that were.
So it's like those people brought over their palate and their style of cooking to the United States, and then that's the one that the Americans have gotten used to and clean to, and that's how it's grown from there. And obviously now it's its own type of cuisine. But I still say it's technically a subsection of, there's a clear line of, you see, those were the people who came to the United States first. They cooked their food to that style, but it's not the style that I grew up with. And it's not going to be the style that the majority of people from that region, from China, from Taiwan, from the Asia, grew up eating, because they themselves have their own local tastes and stuff like that.
It's easy to forget, but also so obvious at the same time. Like, America has under 400 million people. China has over 1 billion people.
Yeah.
America has existed for fewer than a quarter of a millennia. China has existed for 5 millennia. Like,
so there's an evolution of it, right?
You would hope that it has a bit more depth and expansiveness and variety and culture than American culture. So it's just one of those things that's always like, oh yeah, no, that's actually really obvious. I feel like an idiot now. Like,
I mean, it's funny. It's funny because on the topic of food, this is a perfect segue. We were talking about pizza. Because
it's another question I have, and this is the question: is deep dish pizza? Question mark?
Question mark? Yeah.
Like what?
I think it's something that grows on you. You have to have eaten it for a while.
Yeah. So just so the viewers understand where we're coming from, you're a Chicagoan, who has lived in New Jersey. Who has lived in New Jersey, right?
I lived in New Jersey for about 6 years when I went to college, and then my family's still there.
And I'm a New Jerseyan who has traversed Chicago a couple times. So that's where we're coming from. You can imagine the situation.
Yeah, because there's it's night and day. Like,
it is.
I grew, and it's not to say I didn't eat. I only ate deep dish pizzas. It was not always deep dish pizzas growing up, but that is what we're known for, right? And that's you're almost obligated to love it when you live here. But I obviously do love it, but I think it's something you grew up with, and that's why you like it, right? And then when I moved to New York, you couldn't find a deep dish pizza to save your life, at least not a good one, really. It's all just large, flat New York style pizza, which I love. And growing up on television, Ninja Turtles, whatever movie you have there where they're eating pizza, that's the pizza they're eating, right? Like it's that stringy, flat, large slice for $1 type of feel. That's very, very East Coast New York feel to it. So, what do you like on your pizza?
I like it plain. I like a pepperoni.
Plain and pepperoni. Oh,
that's like if I just want a slice of pizza, right? I'll make my own pizzas where I get like a professionally made crust from somewhere, and I'll put on my own sauce. I'll put on like maitake mushroom, anchovy, artichoke hearts, olive oil.
Hey, you're fancy.
A couple different cheese. Like I'll go crazy on like a real
fancy man.
Like I will fancy up a piece, and it's like if you get the balance just right, it is gorgeous. Like put a little either like capicola, like a spiced ham, or even like a what's the other one? Like a bruschetta or something like that. Just like really, or a pancetta.
I think
like something like that, just to really fancy it up. But that's if I want like something really gourmet. Like at that point, it's not really a pizza anymore.
There's more to it, right? But that's like not uncommon. In New
Jersey, just a pile of delicious things.
There's a lot of like quote unquote like artisan style like brick oven pizza places in New Jersey and on the East Coast. That's like a bigger thing there, and I don't see that nearly as much in the Midwest or whatever. I feel like
some spinach, roasted red peppers. Get it all in there.
They're very artisan, and I feel like there's definitely I get to eat more of that kind of style of pizza there than I do here. We're not like.
When I was in Delaware, there was a really good corner shop. Like it's really weird in Delaware. There's this like unspoken rule: every city has to have a 5-way intersection for some reason. Like every city has a 5-way intersection, and because of the 5-way intersection, there's these 5 businesses that just have like this most awkwardly shaped piece of property. And it's like it's either a car dealership, a gas station, or the tiniest little food stop you could ever go. And one of them was just like they had an outdoor like propane grill thing, and then they just had like this brickwork, and it was just a brick oven pizza, 900 degrees. Your pizza was done in 5 minutes, and it didn't matter what you put on the pizza. It was you could put buffalo chicken on there, or you could put the anchovy, artichoke, roasted red pepper, spinach, maitake, like whatever you put on there, it just came out delicious just because it was cooked so perfectly. So always fun like that. But going back to like the real Chinese food, I had a place growing up that was my dad's favorite called Mrs. Chow's, and she was from China. Kind of built the restaurant from the ground up. It was her livelihood. And it really kind of was that wake-up call, like, oh, this is Chinese food, like a sliver of it, right? Like this is just a sliver of the full culture of Chinese food. Because looking back at it, like back then I was just a kid eating Chinese food, but looking back at it, like there was stuff that was very Thai influenced, there was other stuff that was very Korean influenced. The one that was my favorite, I don't know how many of you had like a good barbecue spare rib, like Chinese barbecue spare rib. It's almost like candied bacon, where like it's red all the way through, and like the entire piece of meat is cured. Like it's not just bark on the outside, like a Texas barbecue. It's like the whole rib is cured straight through, like a solid red curing, and it's amazing. But that's very like Korean.
Yes, it is
in its origin, right? Or you get a good stir fry, like I know sometimes they call it like Dragon Phoenix or something, where it's like beef and shrimp or something, like a surf and turf essentially stir fry. And looking back, it's like, oh, that was like Thai food essentially, right? That was just a beef and shrimp Thai stir fry with a little bit of a Chinese flair. They put some water chestnuts in it and called it Chinese, right?
Whatever it was.
Right. So it's just really interesting seeing from not a Chinese perspective, like trying to educate yourself about one of the biggest cultures that has ever existed on the planet.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah. Real Chinese food, guys. Get you some.
Get you some.
Get you some.
Do I have time to ask you more?
Strangely, I was like, is that going to be a good ending segue? And I look at the time and it says 1:55. But I think we still got time.
Okay, what do you put on your hot dog?
Oh man, hot dog.
This is like real American
Yeah.
Pizza and hot dog. Like, what do you put on it?
It's funny because one of the questions I have is...
What type of hot dog? Because are you going to Coney Island? Are you going to Nathan's? Where are you going?
Oh, not Nathan's. No way. Here's the thing. I guess I'm not a hot dog fan because I hate beef hot dogs. I think the spicing... I think the spicing and seasoning...
Thing, right? Like,
yeah, the spicing and seasoning of beef hot dogs to me is just sickening. I hate that taste. I'd rather have a brat. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, of course. I love brats.
So when I think hot dogs that I actually like, I like the non-beef hot dog. I like the Oscar Mayer pork chicken turkey blend flat old hot dog. Wow. And the reason I like that is it has a bit more of that bologna taste, which to me makes more sense because, and this is going back to the question I had for you, which is like sandwich classification. And there's always that trope, like, is a hot dog a sandwich? Well, clearly a hot dog's a sandwich because a hoagie's a sandwich. And what is a hot dog but a hot hoagie, right?
Right.
So, but that goes into that same idea. It's like, I don't want a cured piece of meat for my sandwich, unless it's like pepperoni or something, right? Like, I just want like some bologna in there. Like, I just want a plain hot dog. I don't want some designer spiced beef weird tasting thing with all skin I have to like rip halfway through the bread just to break with my teeth kind of thing, right? So
right.
It's just me. I guess I'm not a hot dog guy as far as it goes, but I like a plain hot dog. You know, I could do it either chili and cheese, or I can do it sauerkraut and fried onion. Not much of a mustard fan. I'm more like a pretzel and mustard guy than a hot dog and mustard guy. And I used to like relish, but not so much anymore.
Do you use ketchup?
I'd rather just have pickles. Ketchup every time. Yeah.
Ketchup every time.
Every time. Ketchup every time.
Strictly no ketchup.
Take it, Chicago. Take it.
Everything underneath that you could find in your cabinet, I will put on there. I've seen the gamut. Onions, olives, relish, pickle, tomato. Almost anything could go on that hot dog. And it's usually, obviously, it's like a Vienna beef because that's very Chicago. It's beef. Right. And probably with sesame bun. But we put the whole... It's a whole fruit salad, a whole salad. To be honest, but everything goes under there with some mustard, and that's about it. But anything you could think of but ketchup, pretty much. Yep. It's like a loaded boat of salad and just a little dog in the middle, but you can't even see it until like you get through it all.
If I may throw a wrench in the works, so my my grandparents on my dad's side, kind of the Italian poverty Depression era people. The poverty food for breakfast was hot dogs and eggs. Right. So you thinly slice a hot dog, brown it in some butter, throw the eggs in, scramble it, ketchup on the side. And I know it doesn't sound that appetizing to a lot of people, but it's good poverty food, I gotta say.
Yeah, that's the staple right now.
That's my preferred hot dog. And even if you don't want to go that way, you can go close to it. So pepperoni and eggs with no ketchup is really good. Yeah. Just because the pepperoni fat has so much flavor, so when you put the eggs in it, it gets a little bit of red. It gets that pepperoni flavor in the eggs. It's really good.
Actually, that's very similar to how we grew up too. Like, well, not me, but my parents, they grew up like, and my grandparents, they were all like poverty. It was like post World War, obviously.
Ham and eggs.
You know? Yeah, it was literally. It was like a sausage, Chinese sausage. I don't know if you've seen them. You know how American sausage, we ground it up and then we put it in the casing? Right. Chinese sausage is they cut it with a knife, a piece of knife. So it's a whole chunks of meat going into the sausage, right? Yeah. Instead of being ground up. Yeah. So Chinese sausage, and then plain bowl of rice. And then if you're lucky, you have a little sweet and sour like sauce. And that's it. And then you can slice it. And maybe you have a little bit of chives or green onion. Right. That's your little bit of vegetable or whatever, because even vegetables were rare. But if you could get a sausage, that's it. Breakfast right there. Basic.
Sounds good to me.
Poverty food, but I mean, like, it fed you and it tasted good. Yeah, it filled you up.
Got the job done on a budget.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right. Well, I think that's a great way to end.
Love it.
GJC, thanks for being here.
I'm hungry.
That was a good run. I liked it. And yeah, I think we're all hungry for some lunch, and it's a great time to go.
Yeah.
Thank you all for watching this,
Thanks,
the 10th episode of Series 1 of Losing Our Marbles, a Talk for Two. Thank you, GJC, again for being here. Much appreciated.
Of course.
And we will continue, as always, after this YouTube portion of the video, live on stream with chat Q&A. So if you want to play a part of that, you got to be here live, or you're just going to miss it. Sorry. That's how it is. GJC, do you have anything you'd like to promote? Or we were talking about pizza. And you are actually... One of the first things someone said when we put you on screen was, "It's the pizza tournament guy." That was literally what they thought of you.
In honor of Shen's and the fact that we're doing the podcast starting tomorrow. First, I have a pizza tournament. It's my birthday on Monday, so we're hosting a pizza tournament tomorrow. But in honor of Shen's, at 10 a.m. Eastern, we're going to run Shen's 1 hour track. Actually, I've been running a simulation this whole time we've been talking.
Oh, nice.
That you told me. Let me see if it's even close. I do have a winner, but I didn't even see what happened. So at least it ran.
What's the time?
Need to run a few more. But we're going to run Shenz's map 2 hours before noon. So 10 o'clock, we're going to start running somewhere around 10. Whoever wins, first person to hit that cube, and I hope you guys know what cube he's talking about, but he said the first person to hit that cube is the winner. And that person will get deep dish pizza sent to them from Lou Malnati's Pizza. It's from Chicago. They bake it early, flash freeze it, and then UPS it to you overnight.
But they don't just get a pizza.
Yeah.
They get my pizza.
They get his pizza. So
because I already have the pizza.
You don't have the pizza. However, in that allotted time before the tournament, no one wins. I'm sending the pizza to Shen's.
So you're playing for my pizza.
You're paying for his pizza. He gets a pizza automatically. It's already his. It is up to you to steal that pizza from him. So get ready for that little pre-party. I probably won't be on cam the whole time. I'll probably in the morning. It's probably I'll probably just be like, load up. You won't even see me. I'll be getting ready. Come on, probably. Hopefully, as the race is finishing, I'll get on. We'll pre-game and we'll do some prep work. Then noon we'll start the official tournament. It goes from noon to 4. During that, there'll be more opportunities for you guys to win pizza. I'll probably do some races or GPs or something, and maybe a battle royale for pizza. And then after 4 o'clock, I'll stream until whenever I feel like dropping, but we'll give out more pizza then. So it's a day full of pizza.
All right.
Tomorrow. Sunday.
Sunday.
And then come, at the very least, come say happy birthday to me.
Oh, we will do. All right. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time on A Talk for Two.
Bye.